Here we have a beautiful example of a 2020 QX50 Century all-wheel drive. The Century is not fully loaded, but it's pretty close to loaded. There's one higher package called the Autograph for the 2020 model year, but the Century is pretty darn close to being loaded. Very nice equipped with features. This particular one has 11,075 miles, very low miles. Most people average 10,000–12,000 miles a year, so 2020 and May of 2023 of only 11,000 miles is way below average miles. This QX50 is very nicely equipped with features. You have a beautiful perforated leather interior, nice contrast stitching, big panoramic roof that opens, and you also have a power sunshade that dim things down if it gets too bright out. Bose sound system, beautiful contrast stitching and synthetic leather on the dashboard and on the center console, on the doors. Nice leather up steering wheel. We have a dual display system. 2020 is a great year for the QX50 because 2019 it got a complete ground up redesign. And for 2020, they enhanced the infotainment system a little bit more. They added a crisper, higher resolution display to both screens. And they had the addition of Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which is really nice. I know a lot of people like that. So on the top screen, we have navigation, a 360-degree around view monitor, great for low-speed maneuvering. The bottom screen is a tab-like interface for vehicle settings and apps. We have a drive mode selector here that will make changes to transmission shift points, throttle sensitivity. You can also access the drive mode selector here. You can make changes to the engine and transmission, Sport, Eco, and Standard. You can make changes to the steering. This one actually has what we call direct adaptive steering. It's actually a feature no longer available on the QX50. I think 2021 might have been the last year for it. Infiniti has been working on direct adaptive steering since 2014 when we saw it first come out in the Infiniti Q50. So basically what it means is during normal driving conditions, there's no mechanical connection to the front wheels. It's all handled by electric motors and computers. Some of the benefits, it can actually react to steering inputs faster than a mechanical rack. It can filter out unwanted feedback. Maybe if you hit a pothole or a rut in the road, which you normally feel, it would jerk the wheel, that will get filtered out. And you can also take a lot of control over the feel of the steering. You can make it kind of like a video game controller. You can make it kind of standard. You can put it in sport mode. You can control the weight of the steering and the response. So you have dynamic and dynamic plus in the sport mode. So you have a lot of selectability for the direct adaptive steering. It also ties into other great systems like we have the lane keep assist, which will keep you centered in your lane while driving on the highway. Direct adaptive steering system works great with that system. Blind spot intervention, lane departure intervention. So if there's a vehicle in your blind spot, it'll steer you back in your lane. If you start, veering out of your lane, it'll steer you back in your lane. So you have a lot of great safety and driver's assistance features tied into that direct adaptive steering system. Unfortunately, I think just the cost of the system. Unfortunately, the bean counters went over, so that's why they dropped it off the the QX50. Unfortunately, it's not available on any Infiniti products, but it's a really great system and a lot of fun to test out and see what you think of it. We have this button right here that activates the safety shield. We have lots of safety technologies. We have blind spot warning, as I mentioned, blind spot intervention. We have adaptive cruise control. We have lane keep assist, so it will steer you in your lane on the highway. If you drive in stop and go traffic, you'll definitely appreciate all these driver's assistance features. Going back to the drive mode selector, we have active trace control, which brakes individual wheels to help you rotate better through the corners. You can shut that system on or off. We have active engine braking. This has a variable compression engine, so we have a system called active engine braking. So when you put it in the lower gear, with the gear selector, we'll use engine braking to slow the vehicle down. So that can save a little bit on your brake life, not having to use the actual brakes when you're using engine braking. We have a power adjustable steering wheel that tilts and telescopes. We have a heads-up display, so important information like traffic sign recognition, how fast you're going. Adaptive cruise control settings will get projected onto the windshield so you don't have to look down off the road and be distracted. Very nice. As you can imagine, of only 11,000 miles, this QX50 is in beautiful condition. And who better to buy a pre-owned Infiniti from than a new Infiniti retailer like us? Our techs work on these vehicles on a daily basis, are very familiar with them. Integrated sunshades. Even though the QX50 is a compact, it still has a decent amount of rear seat space. The rear seats slide back and forth, they recline. We also have a rear climate control on this one. We have a power rear liftgate. Actually, it wasn't until 2019 when the QX50 was redesigned that they offered a power rear liftgate. For those kind of shorter in stature, sometimes it's hard to reach up and pull the liftgate down, so having that power liftgate is an important feature for some people. Beautiful curvaceous body, beautiful design on the QX50. They did a wonderful job designing it. Beautiful creases and curves wherever you look, especially the front end styling, very reminiscent of our Q50 and Q60 sedan and coupe. You have these really cool cube design LED lights for outstanding nighttime visibility. Then you have this nice LED daytime running strip. And another amazing aspect of the QX50 is this VC turbo engine. VC turbo, well, VC stands for variable compression. This is pioneering technology from Infiniti. Infiniti worked on this engine technology for about 20 years, finally got to the point where they felt it was reliable and durable enough to put in a production automobile. The QX50 was the first vehicle they put it in. It's done great. So basically the way it works is it can mechanically change the compression ratio on the fly. So if you're kind of doing easy does it driving, it'll have a compression ratio to a 14:1 compression ratio, which will calibrate the engine to make maximum fuel economy. But the car can tell the way you're driving, so maybe if you're driving more aggressively, you're getting deeper into that throttle, maybe you have the drive mode selector in sport mode, the car can tell, and it'll quickly change that compression ratio to an 8:1 compression ratio, which will calibrate the engine for maximum horsepower, which is 268 horsepower and 280 pound-feet of torque. In fact, this small little 2-liter turbocharged four-cylinder engine makes more torque than the V6 it replaces, the big 3.7-liter V6 it replaces, and it's also far, far more fuel efficient. Thanks so much for taking the time today to watch this video. Hopefully see you soon, and have a wonderful day.